Oh, that was a day. Catching a bug sucks. And catching a bug and staying on the couch inside sucks even more. I can't do it. So I got a full day in anyway. And I think tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get up early at 5. And I'm going to make sure I go out in the woods. I'm going to go out in the middle of nowhere tomorrow. And get some healthy air and healthy movement in. And that'll fix me up, I know it will. But anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to get some voices heard before I can't anymore. And so you guys know what's going on in my country right now. And this is all, I keep tabs on, I always do. I keep tabs on what's going on the planet. I always do, I always have. I knew right away when what's going on right now came out a couple years ago. I knew right away something was up. No, I'm not denying the fact that people are getting sick, but there's an additional fact going on that the political people took full advantage of this to push the narratives, and that's the fact. So today in my country, our rogue government decided to pull this Emergencies Act, and what it essentially does, and this is straight from the politicians' mouths, is right now, if our government decides that we supported any kind of a protest in any way financially, that they can right this very minute seize your bank account, seize your credit card, take your insurance from your vehicle, and annihilate you. That's what they've enabled themselves to be able to do to the Canadian people today. I don't see why this should be anything bad to share online. I'm not saying anything bad, I'm just stating the facts, the true facts. There are some various political people are going at each other's throats right now in the House of Commons, which is our capital, Canada. At the times they're very, very, very alarming. I went to the bank today to inquire whether or not my bank is a credit union, if they have to comply, and she read me the facts, the email that they had, which says yes, right now they have to abide by what the government tells them, and if they tell them to freeze my account right now, they will. And there goes my money. They'll freeze my credit card. They even stated the Justice Minister, Justin Trudeau's Justice Minister said, word for word, if anybody's even a Trump supporter, that should be sufficient enough to freeze your bank account. Amazing. Obviously that statement, for anybody out there that thinks that's about a statement about Trump, you really need to get caught up to date on what's going on in our world today. What that basically says is the government that is in power right now, if you say anything against them, they will and can absolutely trash your existence, your life right now. It's not a threat, it's not an idea, that's not something they're voting on or pushing. That's what they did. That's what they've done here in Canada. So, it doesn't matter what political party you ever think you support or go against. The fact of the matter is, now the cat's out of the bag. The cat's out of the bag, it's in your face. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter now. If you do not do what they say, if you do not agree with what they are doing, they will financially annihilate you and your family today. That's what they've done. It's about as simple as it can get. So, you can look into it yourselves. It's all available. That's straight from the politicians' mouths and straight from the bank's mouth today to me. And I actually voice recorded it on my phone with my phone inside my shirt pocket when I went in there too. So, quick note for all you people that thought I was going political so many times in past videos. I've never spoke about politics once in my life. I've been ringing the alarm bell about your freedom coming to an end. And that's what I have been doing since day one. And that's not political. That's common sense, being aware and observing and staying informed yourself while ignoring mainstream media. That's what I've been doing. All those people that blew a gasket because I was talking, quote, politics, end quote, when that is farthest from the truth. I have been trying to make people aware of what was coming. I've seen it coming a long time ago. And I don't know why I haven't a clue why people do not stay informed. People do not watch what's going on. And now here we are today. I'm in a country which is I'm currently in a country which is now not a free country. There you go. So now what? Right? Now what? And if you're in a different country than me right now, and you've been watching what's going down with us today in Canada, of all places, Canada. Who would have thought that Canada would have been the first to fall? Isn't that amazing? Sarah's scared. She's scared shitless right now to the point she's in tears today about this. Understandably so. It also helps you picture what it must have been like or be like for so many people who have fled countries, educated people with careers, homes, families, forced to flee their country with suitcases and some cash in their pocket, and that's it. And hope to God they could get across the border, and hope to God they could stay in a safe country. It sure enables you to take a look at those people today when it's happening to you, in a way, and you can really sympathize with them and somewhat relate to them and picture the panic and the sheer terror and the heartbreak that those millions of people in the past, families, have gone through. So anyway, I don't know what's going to happen today. I've been inside for a few hours. I'll check out on what's going on once I get in and see what happened. I apparently literally took bus loads of police officers into Ottawa today, and they put a fence around all the protesters, 10-foot fence. It's like a bunch of cattle and pigs in a pen. And it's a peaceful, legal protest, but it doesn't matter. It was peaceful, it was legal, they abided by the law, but it doesn't matter. You see what I'm getting at? It does not matter anymore. It doesn't matter if you follow the law. You spoke out against a dictatorship. And that is what's happening today in Canada, of all places. Unbelievable. So there you go. I'm keeping you informed with honesty. Take from it what you will or leave it. Now, while I am still here, I don't know how much longer I will be here, but while I am here, I will continue to make sure the people's voices that came to me to be heard get heard, word for word. You don't like it? You can ram it up your ass. How's that sound? All right, this comes from another country that's being absolutely oppressed right now, Australia. Let's get Australian voice heard right now. Hey Steve, thought I'd pass this on. An Aussie encounter. I've lived in the bush my entire life and very aware. My intuition is never wrong and has saved my arse many times. I was 16 and I'd gone out for a motorbike ride. I turned the bike off and was sitting enjoying the quietness of the bush in a timbered area about 30 kilometers from the nearest town. All of a sudden the bush sounds were quiet, and then there was an extremely terrifying loud roar/scream that resonated through my entire body. The only thing close to this, the energy that goes through your body when lightning strikes close by. It scared the absolute shit out of me. As I've heard koala bulls roar, and this was not that, it shook me that bad that I took off on my bike, tearing my ACL ligament on a log in the grass that my foot caught on. Didn't stop me till I got home. I've heard since that there have been a few sightings of Sabe running over a 6-foot deer fence in normal gait without a pause in some hunter's spotlight at the same time in a similar area not far away. I had to go to the hospital, obviously. Sure as shit wasn't game to tell the doctor it happened because I was running away from the Sabe noise. Haha. Might have been committed to the funny farm. Everyone I've told has dismissed it off as a bull koala, except for the strange deadpan look I got from my SAS commando sniper cousin when I told him the story at a family event. I wonder what he knows. But no way in hell does that sound anything I've heard before or thankfully since. Hope this adds to your channel. Good on you, Steve, for all you do. Tanya, hit up your cousin. Get him in private, look him in the eyes, and speak honestly and inquire what he knows and extract as much knowledge out of him as you can. Okay? Thank you so much for sending that to us, and I wish you absolute luck down there in Australia, in your country right now, with what you are going through, the same we are. It's not too cool, is it? And I wish you luck, and I urge you to never quit. Do not stop doing what's right, okay? What else do we have? what this is about. Sometimes I just got to sort of go down to make sure it is an encounter, an experience, instead of somebody just going on a rant. Because sometimes I just keep copying emails that are sent in. There's so many. Copy them, put them in the notes. Copy and put them in the notes. I try not to waste too much of your time on sifting through to make sure I'm reading an experience or somebody who needs help. They Try to Show Us is the title of this one. Dear Steve Isdall, I've been deep in thought trying to solve the strange riddle that is the rumored to be mythical, but very real Sasquatch/Sabe creature ever since I saw that no head blemmies, Eastern Prince George, BC, September 24, 2019. I believe that Scott Carpenter is on the right track when he states that these creatures are human, fallen, angel hybrid descendants. The DNA sample results confirm this. I've arrived at this belief due to some long-term memory of Bible study and church sermons. I was told that when Judgment Day comes, we will answer for our lives and we may be found wanting. The only way this can occur is for angelic ability to see our mind, thoughts, and memories as an open book. We cannot deceive or color the events of our histories. It seems reasonable to me that this ability to see us in this way may very well have been bestowed upon the watchers. I've experienced mind speak now upon 3 occasions. You hear clearly, but not with your ears. One experience included the precise tone and intonation of a dear friend. For this to occur, only a crystal clear view of my own memories of sound, as well as very personal and highly detailed knowledge of the most minute aspects of my life experiences, would provide an ability to project that level of high definition into my consciousness. This even spooked me. This event spooked me, and I beat it the hell out of there. I've been trying to communicate with them as I felt that they were in this area. I wrote you about that a month ago. My plan is to remain in this area and to calm my fears and offer to do artistic portrait for them. They do not like cameras. Maybe they appreciate artistic ability. I made the offer. It still stands, more will be revealed. This may not be my wisest life decision. I doubt it is my worst. I had to leave and ponder the implications of the Sabe, using my friend's voice perfectly to say, "Hi, Phil." And this is what I have concluded. We know they can appear and disappear at will. I suspect this ability is related to our own unrealized potential. We have allowed ourselves to be lied to about the Sabe and nearly every other thing. We experience an amplified level of fear upon a sighting, and it is mutual. God said, "Fear not, but keep a joy-filled heart." The combination of this shared raw emotion causes a rapid energy spike. This enables Sabe to enhance our very powerful cue to repress the memory experience, and to us, Sabe vanishes from our sight and mind. Is he really gone? For us, yes. The guy 200 yards up the trail may see something also, and he may well want to recall the experience. You see how this works? Now it gets interesting. The TP structures are a marker of where Sabe vanished. Our combined powerful energies actually causes Sabe to vanish. Some may be able to return, but the vanishing can be permanent, hence the structures. This is in part why Sabe fears us and avoids us. Plus, we can be dangerous. Where do you think those ones go? They return to the either possibly another location, maybe. He may be standing still in the same tracks you see, but has not moved from that spot. He may be forward or back in time in our memory. Quantum physics study reveals that light particles react upon our very perception. Think about that. This may pertain to the missing 411 David Pilatus. The ability to remove a person from this physical plane of existence and potentially return that person or their body miles away at another time and at great heights, or suspended in the air, then dropped. The shoes thing I cannot explain, yet I suspect it may be directly related to the relationship between granite and water. Those are 2 very prominent clues. I believe that certain agencies or other entities share this enhanced ability. Some are very dark and dangerous, obviously. You know what some of these look like. They have been seen in the sightings reported. Some very brave or angry Sabe individuals challenge their ability to control this event. It does not end well for either party in many cases. This is why they parallel, stalk us, observe us, scream at us, and scare us. Imagine being able to see all of a person's thoughts, feelings, memories, phobias, smells, sounds, loves, hates, everything at once. Excuse me. Imagine not being able to stop the transfer/download. Imagine multiple transfers from more than one person at a time. Then the task of edit and delete. Consider the information overload. Would you scream? Sabi can use our minds as we would use high-def drone camera. They can do this with nearly every walking, crawling, slithering, flying mammal, insect. Not sure about reptiles. Now, why would certain government agencies not want to use that kind of power? I'll tell you that they do. In fact, they use certain individuals to tap into the human psyche. They do this because they can. Sabi is not given a choice. Sabi is the perfect super sleeper agent. It is unclear what distance a read can be executed. It is clear the distance is only a question of line of sight, but even that may not limit highly skilled and focused reads. Human remote viewing is the human attempt at Sabi ability. It is also called deja vu or intuition. Trust your guts. Sabi is as perplexed by us as we are by they. They try to show us every day our unrealized abilities. We remain ignorant, but no less a threat. As a man thinketh, so he thinketh, so it shall be. Have you ever thought about the things you desire many times only to have that thing fall into your lap in a most unplanned way? This is not coincidence. This is our greatest gift. Should we yearn for good and wholesome outcomes, so shall we realize these most valued desires. Be careful what you wish for. Been established by mutual sighting, the link remains until death do us part. And this explains why Sabe choose whom they will show themselves. It is as to bond with a parent to child or husband to wife or a close friend. It starts with eye contact. It could end that way too. Moving wire. Moving water is the wild card. It interferes with human and Sabe read ability. It blocks the signal. Sincerely, food for thought, Phil Hukin. Phil, you wrote us about the Sasquatch you saw, the lights in front of his chest, going like this, I believe. Different colored lights. That was east-west Prince George on the highway. That's an interesting read. It's a lot of looking and digging, isn't it? You know, it's funny at the tail end of that email. One thing that I have learned for me is that every single thing, every thought that I keep between my ears in this lifetime comes true. And that those are thoughts that I want. It's, how should I say it, goals. As an example, just a simple goal. Every goal that I have kept between my ears and not wavered once from comes true. And I've proven it to myself that whatever it is you focus on and stay focused on, that will come true. It will, if you don't quit. And that also happens with negative thoughts too. I don't know how many times I've heard people being scared of, paranoid of, worried about the worst happening, may it be in a relationship or in a job. And I keep warning those people when I see them doing it, I go, quit it. You keep those thoughts between your ears, it's going to come true. Now quit it. Sure enough, a lot of people can't overcome that. And next thing you know, their man leaves them or their woman leaves them or whatever. Or they get fired from that job or they fail. There is something to be said about the power of our minds. It's very, very strong. But watch for it. Listen to successful people. You know, if you ever got time, or maybe you're having a trouble time, sometimes when I have been mid-journey trying to attempt a personal goal on my own, it's always been on my own, and I've set some ridiculous goals for myself, and I've come up with, successful people will tell you that you will come up with a million excuses to quit. But you can't. I think it's something like 87% of all people that have a goal make it till they're like 2 or 3 steps from the top, and that's where usually most people quit, sadly. But anyway, I'm babbling, gotta get voices heard. The power of our mind is something else. It's too bad that we've had a lot of it rubbed out of us, right? Thanks a lot for that, Phil. Keep emailing more knowledge when you get it, Phil, all right? And I keep threatening to stop by coming through, and I just have not had the right time yet. I haven't stopped seeing anybody in my travels yet, unfortunately. But it's coming. All right, what do you got? Somebody sent me a link for a bunch of books. Oh, here's a short one. It was Margaret Thatcher who said, "Watch your thoughts." How random is this? It was Margaret Thatcher who said, "Watch your thoughts for they become your words. Watch your words for they become your actions. Watch your actions for they become your habits. And watch your habits for they become your character. And watch your character for this becomes your destiny." We think, we become. You know what? You guys know how many frickin' emails I have in my notes here, right? How random is that? Shit. All right, there we go. That was a good one. And there is no name attached to it. That's a good one. Remember that one and pass it on. Oh, I've got to mark that as red. That one took me back. Mark that as red. That was a good one. Hit the nail on the head with that one. So many emails. I hope I can last here a lot longer yet. I don't suspect I will be here in the near future. But you never know. Even if I get taken off here, you know, I'll find my way, and I have every single email address that's been sent in to me. Just so you guys know. There's only one thing that's going to be able to stop me, and that's going to be a hole in my head, and that's about it. This is titled, okay, no subject. Hello, Mr. Isdall. My name is Donna Marie. I recently came across your channel. I'm so happy to see that someone's giving others the ability to be heard by someone so compassionate and understanding. Your candor and sarcasm are comforting to me, at least, as you have the same dry, no bullshit approach to life as my grandfather did. This happened when I was 7, which was magical to me when it happened, but terrified my grandfather. Massachusetts in '93, I would visit my grandparents' farm every summer. I would get up as soon as the sky would start to raid my grandmother's cookie jar and run to the hay barn, as the hay always smelled the sweetest with the morning dew. The forest butted up the back of my grandparents' farm. My grandfather was very strict about staying away from the forest edge, but I'm stubborn. At the edge of the forest, I could see a doe and her fawn. I didn't have anyone to play with, and I was lonely for a friend. The mother just stood like a statue as the fawn pranced right up to me. I felt warm and tingly like electricity all over when I heard, "Friend?" I immediately said yes. The fawn backed away slowly, just out of reach. Then I was snapped out of a daze by my grandfather's shotgun going off. I had never heard him raise his voice, and he screamed at me of fear then anger, which sent shivers down my back. He told me to run inside. I ran in, told my grandmother, who was angry I was at the fence line and just regarded that I was a Disney princess now. It wasn't until years later that I realized that I wasn't talking to the fawn and it wanted me to go back into the forest. I would have gone too if it weren't for my grandfather stopping me. I've had encounters with other beings, but this is the only one that still sends an ice-cold shiver down my spine. Wow. All right, Donna. That was a bit of a different experience, and I think he possibly may have left out what your grandfather saw. What was he shooting at? And that is kind of creepy. It's funny how that we've had, I don't know how many emails of children being luring of children to the forest. It's kind of weird, isn't it? It's kind of weird that it's the verbal thing has been sent into the mind of a child in bed, come outside, come into the forest, and then you got a verbal coming into the mind of a child who is outside, come into the forest. Well, what's stopping them from just stomping right into the yard, grab the kid by the neck and turn around and go in the forest? That's the confusing part there, right? That is the confusing part. All right, this looks like a bit of a book, but I'm going in. There we go. The title of this is Sasquatch is the original inhabitants of this planet. They are the watchers, the guardians of this planet. They are supernatural beings. That's the title. All right, here we go. Good morning, Steve. How are you doing in this beautiful morning? I'm excited. The autumn season is upon us, the changing of the leaves, the warm days, cool nights, and it's one of my favorite times of the year. I'm writing it because I've had many encounters with the supernatural guardian of this planet that is known by many names, most notably as Sasquatch. I was a young boy around 12 years old when I had my first encounter with this being. I was in the forest with some childhood friends building tree forts and exploring. On this particular day, I'd taken off by myself, exploring as deep into the forest as I could go, hoping to see some wildlife, a deer, a fox, even a black bear. I know I wasn't thinking of the dangers back then, laughed out loud, ha, as I was running through the forest, weaving in between trees, swatting down branches so not to hit me in the face, when all of a sudden, as I heard the sound of a tree branch breaking under my right foot, as all my body weight came down on that foot, the ground beneath me disappeared. I fell into a 10-foot deep dugout cavern in the ground. I fell face first, knocking the wind out of me. I checked myself over to make sure I hadn't broken anything or badly injured myself. I seemed fine besides a sharp pain that intensified every time I took a breath. I believed that I'd broken a rib. I got on my feet, started looking around. It took me a few times for my eyes to adjust to the absence of light in the cavern. The cavern was huge. Tree logs were used all along the ceiling and walls as posts and beams, which I know today are used to increase the stability of the structure, stabilizing the ceiling and walls, preventing it from collapsing on itself. I got to say, it was very well built and huge from what I remember, 10 foot by 10 foot. As I started to look around, I noticed a whole bunch of dead animals. Or, should I say, parts of different animals. Anyways, there's a couple hind legs, what I believed was a front shoulder from a deer, a couple dead coyotes, and some other miscellaneous pieces of meat that from some other animal. They were really big, and I'm guessing they were from a moose. There were these what huge, weird-looking clay objects. I was really curious as to what they were, so I started to inspect them. I picked up a rock. We're missing a lot of commas here, all right? I picked up a rock that I found on the ground. I used the rock to break one of these open to find out what was inside, because they are way too heavy to be just clay. When I broke one open, there was a 10-pound roast-looking piece of meat inside. I was stunned. I was thinking to myself, who takes meat and encases it in clay? Who would do such a thing? Who would dig a cavern like this in the ground and store their meat in it? Why was there still hide on most of the parts of the animal? Why did they not skin it after they killed it? All these questions were swirling through my head. I was shitting myself, as you put it, LOL. I needed to get out of there. I didn't want to come face to face with whose place this was. I wanted back to the house because I had been gone for what I imagined was an hour or so. I was sure that my childhood friends had come looking for me. When they didn't find me, they went to the house to tell their mother they couldn't find me, and I didn't want that to happen because then they would not let me. Oh my God, this is brutal, the periods or commas right now. I'm too sick for this, you guys. Then they would not let me go out exploring in the forest anymore, and the forest is where I've always felt at home. So I knew I had to get back, but when I tried climbing out, I couldn't get good footing on the logs. They were too slippery. I also couldn't find anything to grab a hold of at the opening of the cavern. I noticed what looked like a bunch of tree branches that had come down into the cavern with me, which I fell on top of the branches. I believe they were laid over the top to conceal the opening of the cavern. When I went to get one of the tree branches to use it to help me get out of there, but when I went to pull on the branch to stand it up, it was hooked to something, which when I looked closer, I saw that the branch was part of a lid that was made out of tree branches. Whoever dug out and constructed the massive cavern out had built the lid out of tree branches using what looked like some type of vine or twine to string it all together like they do wicker furniture. I was amazed what I was looking at. After trying to get out of the cavern for what seemed like several hours, I was exhausted and ended up falling asleep. When I woke up, something was down in the cavern with me. The being was massive, 8 feet tall, reddish-brown hair. I was freaking the F out at what I was seeing. My heart was beating 1,000,000 beats a second. And that's when I heard a voice in my head that said, "It's okay, I mean you no harm. You need not be afraid, I'm not going to hurt you." At that second, I felt an extreme sense of calmness come over my whole body. He said to me, "I'm going to help you out of here. I know you want to go home. I can sense that you're in pain. You're injured." I said, "How do you know that?" And that's when he said to me that we are all connected and that we all have the ability to communicate telepathically. But over the thousands and thousands of years, we have abandoned our spiritual and supernatural abilities for physical possessions and evil technology. He told me that our minds are more powerful than we could ever imagine, that we can do extraordinary things with our minds if we were to take the time to practice them, sharpen and hone our abilities. We have the ability to heal our own bodies. We have the ability to change any matter in the universe. We have the ability to harness great energy force within our bodies, which many cultures over the centuries have talked about. Some of the names for this energy are chi, orgoni, ki, prana, vril energy. This energy is everlasting. It's the energy in which we're all made of, and this energy is infinite throughout the multiverse and can be harnessed and used in conjunction with certain technologies that would be for the betterment of humanity. It would give everyone free, unlimited energy that can be used to power your car, your house, all your appliances in your house. This energy can be used for medicine, for healing. It can be used to make anything that we need. But the reason why we don't have this energy, why we are not told about it, why we are not told about our abilities, because when you talk about one, you have to talk about the other. And the global elite, the people in charge around the world, are evil, greedy, controlling parasites. And if you can't put a meter on it, you cannot tax it. If you can't put a price on it, they don't want it. They don't want to use everything that is harmful for the universe, that is harmful for mankind. I feel like everything that is an explosion instead of implosion, which is one of the universe. The Sasquatch being projected in my mind all the atrocities that the global elites, the powers that be around the world have done between nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, biochemical, fossil fuel, pollution of our air and of our oceans. He said that there is beings in our oceans that are very intelligent, that the governments around the world know about. And the real reason why they don't want us knowing about Sasquatch beings or the ocean beings is because then these Sasquatch beings and these ocean beings would start communicating with everyone telepathically, letting them know that they have these abilities and that we have been lied to. All of this has been being hidden from us, all because of their own greed and control. The powers that be are psychopathic, narcissistic parasites that feel they are better than everyone else, that they are gods among men. The Sasquatch being helped me out of the cavern, and he showed me the way back home. When I looked back, the whole landscape had changed, and he was no longer there. When I got back to the house, they had said that I had been missing for 14 hours. It only seemed like 3 or 4 hours. Over the years, I've had other experiences with these majestic supernatural beings, and what they have told me is that there is multiple dimensions, multiple universes, that on Earth there is multiple layers to Earth in which we are only turned into layer of the Earth kind of like a radio station. All the radio stations are out there, but you can't listen to one until you have tuned your radio into that station. Well, the same thing goes for our minds. There's a multitude of different layers of Earth, and sometimes when people are hiking in these national forests near boulder fields that are high in granite, it ends up causing an energy spike and ends up causing the individual's brain to tune into a different layer of Earth. Not one period or comma, you guys, all right? This is nasty for me to read. And that's why they'll be there, 1 second and gone the next. Later on, they'll find them dead because some of these layers of Earth, our bodies, are not acclimated to them. In some cases, they freak out and end up dying from seeing stuff that they're not used to. The Sasquatch beings have told me that there are other malevolent beings that do come to this planet. They said that the people who were the most in tune with how the world and the multi-universe actually works, how it actually is the Scandinavian people, the Norse pagans who believe in Norse mythology of the 9 realms. Well, the 9 realms are real. Start researching Norse mythology, looking to zero-point energy. Did you know that enough zero-point energy to fill a teacup is enough energy to boil all the ocean water in the world? Now think about that. That is just in a teacup. Thank you, Steve, so much. If you'd like to speak with me, I'd more than be happy to speak with you and to talk more about all this stuff. There's a lot more stuff that I didn't get to talk about here. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Everyone out there, stay safe. It's time for us to stick together and stand up for our rights and for each other before our freedom are all taken from us. Tyranny is knocking at the door. What are we going to do when you try kicking the door in? Best regards, Justin Hogginson. Justin, my aunt in Oslo, Norway, did our family tree back to 700 BC. BC, I think it was, AD, whatever the hell it is. I'm not familiar with those two abbreviations, obviously. But that's how far back my family tree goes into the Viking world. That's an interesting read, man. Yeah, I want to hear more. Email us more. Email us more information if you got it. Share with the people, all right? It's funny how all the emails that are being selected seem to be going in the general same direction, isn't it? Currently. And I don't pre-read any of them, obviously. Why? People actually stopped shitting on me for that, haven't they? Thank God, because I think I finally clued them in that there is no human being in a position that decides what you will or will not hear. Especially me. No one does. There's been a lot of people in the so-called Sasquatch, Bigfoot community that just wants to control so badly what you hear, what people share. It's a sad characteristic that a lot of humans have, isn't it? That need to control. Like that little prick back east that tried to give me a hard time in the beginning here when everybody was trying to get me to share what I knew. You mean to state what you say? I just come out of nowhere and I'm encroaching on their scene. like he laid claim to the scene. Like Bigfoot Sasquatch is owned by a select group of people. Isn't that funny? That's sad. That's sad. It must be a sad, frustrating place to be when your mind operates like that. I couldn't imagine that frustration of wanting to control others so badly and not being able to accept the fact that you can't. That must be so frustrating. Actually, we have somebody in the Canadian politics right now who's going through that. It's not good what they do, right? If they can't control you, they go to the next lowest level of low to try to get that control at all costs. It's a creepy thing to watch. All right, here we go. What's this one? Place where I heard bang against the house last evening. Ooh. Oh, with photographs. All right, here we go. This is the side of the house where it sounded like something banged against the house. I found this Japanese knotweed. It looks like bamboo, bent down at the area where I heard the bang against the house. I've heard a bang against here every once in a while this past year. You may share this morning if it seems important to you. Last year my son found around the fence line of our garden/yard bear tracks. When we had the problem with it, seemed a bear defecating on our back porch. It's just outside our glassed back door to deck, near an outside stainless steel chimney. But I listened once to Buckeye Bigfoot, a story about some Bigfoots doing that in a field near someone's home, and they wondered why they did it so close to their home when they had the whole woods, etc. It made me wonder about this bear thing. I used to last year try to stay up to catch it doing it. We put a battery-operated motion lights in the back porch, but it seemed to do it between 2:30 and 4 a.m. I've not noticed any scat this year, but something has been going through our garden where spaghetti squash is growing, going near our grapevines. I pick almost every other day our Concord-like grapes, but something has been eating them too. Besides motion lights, is there anything else one could do to keep away a bear or other wildlife? Our apples are less this year. We had snow late May, which I think hurt the crop of just 7-8 trees. Thanks. I'll have to put on our outside motion light when I hear these bangs. I haven't heard any tonight. Well, I just heard something and our cat did too. Oh well, we're locked up and I do have faith, but thought I'd anything could help to discourage a bear coming around here. It would be good to know. Well, that's confusing. Like, are you getting at it that, I mean, if that's I can't even see why a bear would bang the house by the looks of this photograph. I'm just going to hold the photograph up, you guys, because it's such a bugger to get the photograph out of my notes, and then I have to put it on the big computer. So there is the side of the house. That's it. The bamboo stuff's sitting down, and there's a big shot of the yard. Now, I can't see how a bear would bang the house consistently, and especially at that same time of night. My last place I lived at, we had bears. As soon as there's food in the yard, the bears are there 24/7, around the clock, unless there's a couple of big happy dogs to chase them away. So, how to keep bears out of the yard? Well, if they are threatening your children or your dogs, you kill them. That's what I did, and that works. That's pretty effective. But we had some pretty nasty bears in that last neighborhood I was at. But one thing you could do is get some trail cameras from your local sporting goods store, set up in the backyard, especially where that wall is, and see if that stops it. If a trail camera on that wall stops the bangs, it's not a bear. Or maybe the bangs will move over to another side of the house where there isn't a camera, right? I don't even know when that was. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. I can't stand being inside when I'm sick. I hate being sick, it sucks. Ours read 7 encounters, all in different places. I see I've tried to email you before, but hit the send button too soon. My name you can use as I don't care what anyone thinks, as I know these beings are as real as you or me. My first encounter was in '67 in Alberta. Grandpa, Grandma, and myself, 11 years old, took a road trip to the Calgary Stampede. I went to Jasper, Banff, Frank Slide, Crow's Nest Mountain. My great aunt and uncle were from Hillcrest and lived outside of town. We rode horseback a day to a day and a half up into the mountains to fly fish, a spot known as Big Little Falls. You might know where I'm talking about, Steve. We fished the better part of the day and caught many fish. We stopped fishing to have lunch. Fresh fish. This is a very hot day in early August, and I asked if it was okay to jump in the river for a swim. I wanted to cool off. I was told some rules for going in. 1, jump far from shore. 2, get out of the river by the gravel bar, because grizzlies downriver past the gravel bar around the right turn in the river. So I tore off my shirt and jumped in. Instantly, my 11-year-old body turned into one big goosebump. I went over the big falls, the small falls, the gravel bar, and I got out and ran back up the river to do it again. I went down twice with no problem, but the third didn't go as well. My body was getting hypnotherapy. Now I'm getting a brain fart. What's the word when you freeze to death? I can't believe it. Just made me block that word. You know what I'm talking about. Hypothermic. There you go. Hypothermia. When I jumped in, I didn't get far enough out from the bank, so when I went over the big falls, an eddy started to drag me under the rock ledge where we were fishing from. I did manage to grab the rock ledge with the tips of my fingers of my right hand. Strong current there. I got a grip with my left hand too and pulled myself to the edge in 10 feet. Underwater, looking up at Grandpa and Uncle Steve were looking down at me. I'm looking up at them. About that time, my feet found a spot on the underside of that rock ledge, and I pushed with every bit of strength I had left. And up I bobbed and down over the small falls. By now it was so cold, I lost control of my arms and legs. Too cold. Oops, there goes the rock gravel bar. I started grabbing at big rocks on the river bottom and holding on as long as I could, just a few seconds, then I'd go down river a little more and then grab another. I looked down river, damn grizzly 1,300 pounder, and I'm heading right for it. A loud scream / roar came from up the far side of the river as this huge, hairy man came down that mountain so fast, 3, maybe 5 seconds, it covered quarter mile. When that bear heard it, it didn't even look to see what it was. That 1,300-pound bear turned and ran out of the river and disappeared into the scrub. The big hairy guy left as fast as it got there. And as soon as it was out of sight, Grandpa, Uncle Steve were there dragging me from the water into the waiting warm dry towel that Grandma ran down river with, wrapped me up and got me warm. I was too cold to walk right away. But once I warmed up, I asked if anyone had seen my Savior. They thought I was talking about God. I said, no, the big hairy man that was only 200 pounds lighter than the bear. and scared it off. In the early 1980s, I lived in Northeast Ohio. I was a bricklayer. And a friend, a bricklayer also, was building a home doing the brickwork himself. As I went to his place early one Saturday morning, one of these beings crossed the road right in front of me. Next, I was working down in Georgia. I met a man that was just fresh out of the Marines. He challenged me to a foot race up Kennesaw Mountain. I was at the top of the mountain. This Marine wasn't even a third of the way up, and one of these beings was behind a tree, peeking around the tree at me. This is a new piece to the puzzle. In 84, 85, I was hunting in the UP of Michigan. After a long day hunting, I came out to where I parked my F-250 pickup truck. I was very hungry and sat on my tailgate, eating. By the time I started for our farm, it was well after dark. I got twisted up out there and took the wrong skidder trail out. I was heading in the right direction, just the wrong road. And then it happened. I got my pickup stuck in the mud. It's now about midnight, and I had a floor jack machete 308 and an 800,000-pound power spotlight. I just tried to jack up the back of the truck and push it off the jack, trying to get out of the ruts. That didn't work. So I used the machete to chop down some 3 to 4 inch diameter logs and dug out the back tires, put the logs down. And oh, by the way, when I started all this, there were all the normal sounds of the woods at night. Now I got those logs I cut under my back tires and pulled my truck forward. But the logs split apart and down in the mud again. So I got down on my knees and I'm making a second attempt at getting unstuck. I notice there's no sound. All's gone silent. As I'm doing this, a loud 3-tone scream / roar, not only hearing it, but it came through the ground into my body and resonated into my chest. Now I spent a lot of time in the woods and I know all the wildlife and the sounds they make. It was something different. I stood up, walked to the door of my truck, reached in, grabbed my spotlight, and lit up the woods in front of me. 40 feet is a 9-foot-tall, hairy man, about 1,000 pounds, and he is not happy about the light, so I turned it off of him. Then in my mind, I heard him tell me, "Go." Not through the voice, but in my head, my mind. So I went back to trying to get my truck unstuck. This being screamed at me again. This time I knew what that one did to the bear on the river. It put the fear of God in me, and again it told me to leave. I told it back, no. I went to the back of my truck, uncased my 308, put in a mag. I racked it as loud as I could. Big mistake. When it heard that, it started pushing a 45-foot-tall tree over at me. I dropped the mag and added one more round, giving me 5 shots instead of 4. Plus, I put another mag in my hand. Went back to the front of my truck, got the light and shined it out of my gain. This really made it mad, and it started pushing a 45-foot-tall papal tree at me and my truck. That's how it's spelled, papal tree, never heard of one. So I turned off the light again, and things calmed down some. Again, this being screamed at me, filling me with fear. I now knew why that bear never had to look. It just knew its life was in danger. They can mind speak with animals too, just my opinion. This went on for the rest of the night, and at one point I was picking up on the fact that this one was not alone, that there were at least 3 more in the near area. They were speaking with each other. Very weird. I started lighting up the entire woods, 365 degrees, looking for an attack to come from behind or the sides. Got light at about 5:20 a.m. Light up to see, so I jumped out of my truck in the 308 and charged the big effer in front of me. What? It ran so fast I tried to keep up, but no chance of that. This being was hitting speeds of 50, maybe even faster than that. It ran through the trees, didn't even try to avoid them, just plowed them, sending wood splinters in all directions. I still had to walk 10 miles through the woods. It left in a northeast direction. I had to go southeast, so my head was on a swivel, and I was on high alert for that walk. I had to get my truck unstuck later that day with the help of my friends. Excuse me. Now comes the new info for all to share. I had night terrors for over 20 years. wake up in the middle of the night soaked in sweat and screaming out loud. And from that night on, I have lost my ability to dream when I sleep. More than 30 years have passed, no more night terrors, but still having no dreams. I saw one down in Florida also in 1981, I think, 7 altogether, all different parts of the world. I can tell you if they mean us any harm or not. My thoughts on it is they're just like us, good ones and some not so good, and ones that will kill or hurt you. So keep on high alert, head on a swivel, check your backtrack once in a while and see if you're being stalked. If you want to talk sometime, here's my phone number for only you, Steve. And my name is Mike Gogolin. Mike, I don't remember in the beginning. I hope you said it's okay to use your name because I just used it. I love your YouTube stuff Have a blessed day. I love your YouTube stuff as I love to see the mountains of Canada again. It's been too long. I don't go back in the woods no more as I think it might be connected to these beings in some way. They know when I'm around and I know when they are around there too. After this happened, I went to a 300 Win Mag, but I don't want any fight with these beings. Holy shit. Well, that's a little different. We haven't heard too many people blowing a gasket and charging towards them after interacting and after seeing them. But you know what happens? You know what happens when people's primal fear kicks in, especially females of all species. Females of all species seem to be the more dangerous lethally. A lot of people are going to laugh at that, but it's true, right? Females of most species do that. They get so scared, and especially if they have children, they finally snap and want to get it on. Let's fight, right? Not saying you were a female, but that reaction is common amongst the females of all species. Cow elk are more dangerous than anything. Cow moose are more dangerous than anything. Female bears are more dangerous than anything. Yeah. But anyway, that's quite the experience, man. Quite the experience. And who knows, once I finally get this thing set up back here, and if I'm still online, if I'm still here long enough, then maybe we'll get you on the phone. And we'll have some good conversations and share what you know with all the people that way too, right? But anyway, how long have I been here? 6 o'clock? Screw it. I'm not going in yet. I'm going to do another one. It's funny, I actually had an email. Somebody actually emailed me and complained to me one time about sometimes I do long ones like admin. It actually gave me attitude because I made the videos too long. Oh man, I'll tell you what, there's every single flavor of human being you could ever conjure up is running around the planet today, I'll tell you what. You imagine what that person must do on Netflix if they watch movies the odd time. Do they seek out who actually filmed and put the movie together and blow a snap sandwich on them for making it 2 hours long? Pretty funny. I'm going to keep going and do one more. This is titled Sasquatch Encounter. Hello Steve, I hope all is well with you and yours. I've been living with this for about 30 years now, and I'm so grateful for this platform you have created for good, honest people like me and all the others who can be heard and not be ridiculed for sharing life-changing events that have happened to them. My encounter started in 1985 on a family camping trip at Salt Fork State Park in southeastern Ohio. Every time I told this story, whether they believed it or not, people usually say, "In Ohio, are you sure?" A lot of people hear Ohio, they automatically think big cities. But let me tell you, Ohio has some serious BFE places. Let me stop rambling. The trip started late. My girlfriend and I were driving to Columbus to meet up with 2 of my cousins from West Virginia. The plan was to meet right outside of Zanesville at this little truck stop and go to Salt Fork from there. Well, after about 2 hours of waiting, my cousins called and said they would hook up with us at the camp spot. This made me a little nervous because I wasn't 100% sure of the camp spot. I've been there several times, but I've never been the one driving. Anyways, I decided to give it a try. We got going, and I had to call my cousin a couple times just to make sure. I also had to lock my hubs because the road was getting pretty serious. The spot that we go to is by no means a marked camping spot. It was a good 6 or 7 miles into the bush, and we keep the entrance to it hidden with as much debris and deadfall as possible. Anyways, we finally got there and got to unpacking all the gear we would need just to get some sleep, and we would get to the rest at sun up. Damn dirt bikes. The first sign that kind of put me on edge was a seriously loud tree knock. I'm talking so freaking loud that I could hear echoes of it bouncing off all the ridge to the east of us. Me and my girlfriend both knew about Sasquatch. It really never came up at the dinner table, but we both had encounter stories that we had talked about. Anyways, after the tree knock, we both looked at each other, and I put my finger up to my lips, and we both went to the tent. I grabbed a 410 single shot I kept behind my truck seat, and she had a sweet little Ruger 25 Auto. Not that that was going to do anything, but it made her feel better. We both sat down in the front of the little fire I got going and listened. We both decided that it was time for bed and spread out a blanket for the sleeping bag we were going to share. No sooner had I spread it out, a pine cone landed right in the middle of it. At first I couldn't tell what it was. I started to get really mad because I actually thought it was a big turd, and I started picking up anything I could find and throwing it in the woods all around. My girl jumped up and grabbed me by my shirt and pulled me to her. I could feel her shaking. And I asked, "What's wrong? Did you see something?" What's wrong?" Then she kept looking in 10 different directions, and I couldn't get her to answer me. I kept asking, what is it? And she could not speak. Only circle me while putting a death grip on my arm. I grabbed her by her head. I really couldn't see her that well, but I tried to look her in the eyes so she would calm down, but she wasn't having it. She would not stop looking all around. I finally yelled at her right in her face, and she said, "I hear them. They're all around us. There must be at least 10 of them. I don't want to die. Tim, let's get out of here. Let's go." She was a mess. I had honestly not heard anything. I didn't even hear the pine cone hit the blanket. I told her, "If it's Sasquatch, you won't hurt us. Just relax." Even though the fear was creeping up my back as I spoke, we both sat down and I told her we would leave if they get any closer. And all the while I'm listening and not hearing any branches pop or leaves underfoot. Nothing. And the whole time she's still going on, saying they must be about 10 feet into the brush. I really thought she was losing it. She said she wanted to go to the truck and sleep. And I told her there was no way we could both fit in there. I said, "Just give it 30 minutes. If they're still out there, we will leave." And she reluctantly agreed. So after about 20 minutes, I got up and had to take a leak. I hate to admit this, but I asked her to walk with me. I wasn't totally freaked out like her, but there was some fear there. So she walked with me about 50 yards to this clearing we usually play some football in. No sooner had I pulled it out, I was down on my hands and knees puking my guts out, just out of the blue. I was doing a replay of The Exorcist. I didn't know what happened. I hadn't been drinking or anything like that, and I hadn't eaten since lunch at Mom's in Columbus. It was then that I got this crazy, hair-raising feeling of straight terror. I mean, Steve, I have never in my life felt fear like this. I was still on my knees with both my hands in a pile of puke, and all I kept thinking was, "Missing 411, missing 411, missing 411. I felt tears streaming down my face. I tried to get up using a tree for support, but I couldn't seem to get a grip on anything. I turned around to see that my girl was now gone. I kept spinning in circles on my knees looking for her, but she was gone. I was screaming as loud as I could. Something was wrong with the sound. It was like I was underwater. My ears were popping like I was on a plane. I just kept thinking that this was it. This is it. It's over. I'll never see my kids again or my mom. It's all over. I let myself fall backwards. The grass was so soft and cool under me. I remember thinking, excuse me, my girl is going to be so mad at me for getting her killed. And something happened after that last thought. It was a crazy, waking up feeling. And I jumped up and started heading back to the camp spot and ran right into my girlfriend. We both fell down, holding each other and crying. I mean, we were both bawling and curled up on the ground. We probably laid there for an hour. Or it could have been 5 minutes. It felt like I was on a serious drunk. We both did a 180, cause behind us was some really big tree breaks. The branches that were being broke had to have been 10 or 12 inches thick. Sounded like a bulldozer coming through the woods. We both just sat there holding each other with our eyes closed, waiting on death. It just kept getting closer and closer until I could tell it was no more than 6 feet in front of us. I tilted my head up and I could hear myself sobbing. I sounded like a scared kid. I looked at my girl and her head was down and she had drool flowing from her mouth. She must have fainted. The whole time, this thing, I couldn't tell if it was a Sasquatch or anything because I couldn't see it. It was so dark I couldn't see my hands in front of my face, but I could distinctly hear something huge breathing. Big, giant breaths. And it sounded congested, almost like my mom, who has COPD, but on a much larger scale. It was like time was standing still. Could have been 5 minutes or 5 hours. All I know is that this thing let out a roar, splash, slash, scream, slash, howl. It was so freaking loud. The only thing I could compare it to would be a flyover by a fighter jet at real close range, like 5 feet away. But when this thing let loose, it had to be right in front of me, because it was like being in front of a hurricane-force wind. It blew my hair back, and I could feel spit hitting me in the face and chest. And the breath smelled like death itself. I really thought I was going to puke again. It was the god-awfulest smell I've never ever smelled. After that, I don't know what happened. I woke up shaking and freezing because it was raining, and we were both still laying there in a little clearing. I could hear my cousin screaming our names. I have no words to describe how it felt, how I felt. It was like every bone in my body hurt bad, like I'd been ran over by a Mack truck. I told my cousins the whole story, but they both said, lay off the dope, Tim, you're gonna kill yourself one of these days. We left everything there, just got in my truck, not a word to anyone. We didn't even talk about it on the way home. I got home and I slept for 27 hours straight. I can't tell you what it was, but I can tell you what it wasn't. Thank you for all you do, Steve, and keep on keeping on. My name is Tim Burns from Columbus, Ohio, and you can use my name. I'm way too old to be worried about what people think of me. Stay safe, brother. Holy shit, Tim. I don't envy that one. And obviously, you know what, you're probably better off it was pitch black. Obviously that thing was right in your face and let you have it. What a shitty thing to do to an innocent soul, right? What a shitty thing to do to an innocent soul. I wonder how your girlfriend's making out today. 30 years, huh? Well, I hope that did something, some kind of a positive for you hearing it shared here to all the people through me. I imagine it would. Everybody seems to find some kind of relief when they share their story with the planet. Honestly, it's a bit much to be holding that shit in, isn't it? Something like that. How do you hold that in? Well, actually, I mean, I haven't been terrified like that, but I definitely didn't go out of my way to talk about what I've seen of people. That's for sure. I still don't in public. I don't talk about this with my friends. Basically, never really. I don't hang out with Sasquatch enthusiasts. I don't belong to any so-called Bigfoot or Sasquatch groups. I've been invited a million times. I don't even reply. Not into it. I only talk about it here with you guys. I don't push these videos on social media. I don't market them in any way. It's just us here, right? It's the club of no return here. It's a round table of knowledge sharing here, and that's the only place I really talk about it. Except for people, sometimes people come up to me in public and they recognize me from here, and they got a lot they want to share with me, and I'll talk about it with them, obviously, but I don't bring it up too often. Anyway, I'm starting to spiral. I gotta get a bunch of my gear ready for tomorrow. I don't give a shit how sick I am tomorrow morning. I'm getting up at 5 and I'm going to the mountains. That's all there is to it. Kick this bug and figure out the right thing to do, what direction to go, who to maintain being connected to, who to reach out to, what to do, and never quit doing what's right, right? So anyways, don't forget, all of you, please don't forget what I shared with you in the beginning of this video. And if you have it in you, you're going to want to look into it yourself, all right? Just look into what's going on today. Look at all angles and do not be told what to do. Do not be told what to think, what's going on. Look into what's going on and go with your natural instincts, all right? Okay, I'm out of here, and I will, tomorrow, I'm going to get up at 5. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to get to my destination. Hopefully going to catch a steelhead. I'm going to take a time out, and I'm going to share as many voices as I can. And then I'll possibly go to another place to show you guys where I'm at, and show you some beautiful places. And then I'm going to get a whole bunch of more voices shared again. Now maybe we'll see if I can catch another fish, and then I'm going to start traveling home. Maybe, maybe not. And then I'm going to get more voices shared. And I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not going to stop. And then if I get kicked off of here, I'm going to do it again a different way.